Russia has no territorial ambitions.
Of course not.
But what Russia is especially concerned about is the possibility of the Ukraine joining NATO. Russia's Black Sea Fleet leases a naval base in Sevastopol from the Ukrainian government. The lease runs out in 2017, and ethnic Russians here fear that the fleet would be kicked out if Ukraine became a NATO member. The groom is from Russia and a crew member of the Black Sea Fleet. The bride is Ukrainian, but is an ethnic Russian from here in Sevastopol.
In fact, Sevastopol is a Russian city. All people in Sevastopol and most people of Crimea wants to be a part of Russia, of course. I can't imagine that any other ships except Russian fleet will be here.
The ethnic Russians in Ukraine are not alone. There are about 20 million of them in former Soviet republics, creating potential flashpoints in the states along Russia's European and Asian borders.
This is a country which tore itself to pieces. We're accused of expansionism and imperialism. What expansionism? Yes, we do have interests beyond our borders, but these interests are only local and about our survival.
By contrast, Russia believes America's interests remain global. To Russia's fury, the US wants bases for a new missile defense shield to be stationed in Poland and the Czech Republic. Washington argues that the system is to stop missiles from Iran and North Korea, not Russia.
We can't buy this explanation.
But why not?
Because Iran and North Korea doesn't have missiles which theoretically might reach Western Europe. At the same time, we know perfectly well that a new radar and anti-ballistic missiles might reach Russian territories in seconds, not minutes.
Russia's defense spending is only about a fifth of America's, but for the first time in 20 years, missiles rolled through Red Square this year. And in August, this man threatened to use them. General Anatoly Novagitsin, Russia's deputy chief of staff, warned that Poland was exposing itself to a nuclear strike after it agreed to station the missile defense shield on its soil. Fortunately, this is not a view shared by his bosses.
Russia will definitely react, because we can't not react. It doesn't mean that, of course, we're planning a nuclear attack on Czech Republic or Poland. That's total rubbish.
They all say we shouldn't fear us because NATO is defensive. It's not an aggressive bloc, it's defensive. Then I ask, and a lot of people ask, defensive against who? If it's about Russia, why don't you come out and say so?
Do you think America wants Russia to be weak?
Ideally, America would like Russia not to exist.
The other deep-seated misunderstanding between Russia and the West goes back to the days of the Berlin Wall. And it's this: the Russians believe that the West has let them down. We think we've helped them.
I was told personally by President Gorbachev that President Bush, Sr., had promised that should the Berlin Wall go down, there would be no expansion of NATO to the east. Well, you see what happened.
So they broke that promise?
Well, absolutely. And big time. They broke it big time.
Ask Russians, and they'll tell you the West has been failing them ever since.
A lot of Russians thought that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the West is on our side, they will help us, and there will be eternal peace and prosperity. That was very, very naive, but it happened. Now I think the bulk of the Russian population is much less naive.
The whole attitude towards the United States and towards Americans began to change. If in Soviet times there was anti-Americanism at the level of the government, but not at the grassroots level, what you find today is at the government level, it's, it's tepid. At grassroots level, it's anti-American, and especially among young people. And there's this feeling that they betrayed us.
If you want to know what some young Russian patriots are thinking about the West, here's one place to find out. Nashi is a patriotic youth group created by the Kremlin.
3 years ago, Nashi would have been able to gather only a couple hundred people at a demonstration like this. But look at it now.
Some 2,000 young Nashi members attended this vigil for victims of the war in Georgia. They don't look to the West as a beacon anymore.
We don't want to threaten the West in any way. And it's a shame that the West doesn't understand. The West lives in the past and looks to Russia through the prism of the past, as a country that is a menace. Instead, all Russia is doing is defending its citizens.
These citizens are feeling increasingly confident. There's no doubt about it. Weddings in Russia are on the up. And after more than a decade of falling birth rates, there's also a baby boom.
We had a baby because we wanted one, but also because we have confidence in the future. My husband and I know we'll be able to raise him, as well as a second child. Today's stability in our country allows us to have more than one child.
This year, more than 100,000 babies will be born in Moscow, the highest figure in nearly 2 decades.
I think the West would do well to handle Russia more carefully and without the prejudice it's had until now. We are no longer an undeveloped country, but a developing superpower.
And it's Russia's resurgent economy that is making it all possible. Share prices have nosedived since the beginning of the year, of course, but the economy has been transformed from the chaos of 10 years ago.
What has changed? That Russia is now pursuing and defending its own interests in a more assertive way than it did before?
Our economy is, well, totally different from what it has been 20 years ago. We're simply richer. And being richer, we are more eloquent, we are more free to defend national interests.
This resurgence is thanks to oil and gas. Russia already provides a quarter of Western Europe's gas, and in the future, energy could become Russia's most powerful weapon.
The thing we hear all the time is that Russia has and wants to use energy as a tool of blackmail.
Could we say pressure?
Pressure or blackmail? Is that a problem?
Yes, I think it is.
Why?
I think it is. Of course, Putin and others have said time and time again, we will not, we have not, we will not, you may believe this. I would ask, well, why must I believe this? And even if you won't, how do I know that your next president, whoever, isn't going to?
So what is the mood in Russia, nearly 20 years after the collapse of communism? In my view, it's one of conflicting emotions. A sense of superiority because it used to be a superpower, but also inferiority because it no longer is one. And it's fed up with taking lectures from the West.
If you've been a country that has had no democracy ever in its entire existence, then you cannot expect that country in the space of 15 or 20 years to go, bingo, we're now democratic. Give this country a break. You know, you're not asking the Chinese for some reason to be democratic. You don't seem to care. Let the Russians evolve just a little bit. Don't put all that much pressure on them, because if you do, you'll bring out the worst.
You don't like me, Englishman. You haven't liked me for many centuries. I respect you. You're powerful. You're intelligent. I want to engage with you, but I want you to respect me as an opponent as I respect you. Russia must be respected, not least because it is strong and it can answer. It can say no. No. You want to talk? Let's talk. You want to fight? Okay, let's fight. But then don't complain.
Should we be afraid of the Russians? Well, I've seen many things I don't like here over the years. But no, I don't think so. Far more dangerous is the growing mistrust between us and them. Talk of a new Cold War is exaggerated, but there's no doubt. Far from melting, the ice is hardening.